Hello, this is Anthony. Let's sit and talk. By the way, if you enjoy this content, please like, share, and subscribe. I'd be grateful. So today we're going to talk about relationships. I've done a few videos and I've set them aside, and I recognize that, at times, some of the challenges and struggles I've gone through, the videos that I do, I start to become enmeshed in those videos based on some of my own personal struggles. And so, instead of talking about something exterior to me, I want to talk about something that's interior in hopes that maybe it'll reach folks out there and potentially help them. On this channel, everything that I post these are experiences I have in life. These are struggles I have in life. These are things I've discovered on my journey to help me on my journey that I hope will help you on your journey. And, a lot of these things in some cases can be very personal to me. And I recognize that it's, being vulnerable after this awakening is something that I value. Because once I took off the mask, I recognized that I just didn't want to don another one. So today we'll talk about relationships, and what we're going to talk about in relationships, and this is because I've had some struggles in this area since this awakening. And some of these struggles have really been more from, connecting intimately with other people who can really truly understand themselves and then understand me, and then vice versa. And the problems are that a lot of times, because I understand myself very deeply and I work continuously to even understand myself even more deeply, I want to go as deep as possible to know who I am. It's difficult to meet people and only be able to kind of, they only let you in so far, and I'm sure that's partly out of fear of vulnerability, and maybe even not knowing who they really are inside. But the things I think that I find more disconcerting for me is even just in relationships, like even intimate relationships, for instance. I've learned quite a bit about attachment theory and attachment styles over the last probably 6 or 8 months. And it's really kind of helped me to understand the different characters that people are programmed and conditioned to play throughout life. And that can make things really difficult because unless someone can recognize an attachment style and they can work to become healthier in that style and work to become more secure, they don't recognize necessarily what they're missing out in life. Here's what I mean by that. I was listening to a psychologist the other day, and she was talking about, specifically she was talking about women and how, women, and this really is applicable to both genders, because, or sexes, however you want to put it. It's applicable to all people, that they're raised by parents, and the vast majority of people are raised by parents who carry trauma, and that trauma hasn't been healed. And so a lot of times that trauma will get pushed off onto the child at a very young age, and then that child will start carrying that trauma until they choose to heal the trauma. And so what happens is, let's say a child grew up in a household where they had two very dismissively avoidant parents, or one very strongly avoidant parent, maybe even leaning slightly narcissistic, and they want love and they want connection. They truly desire love and connection, deep love and connection. But in their life, what they end up doing is they end up attracting other avoidants, or they attract other narcissists, because these are familiar. Again, from the root word of family, these are familiar people for them. So they get into these relationships, and these relationships are toxic, and they'll last any period of time that that the person stays or the other person engages, and then they end. And then the problem is that they really want healthy and true and real love. But when they are presented with that, that love feels so unfamiliar to them, even though it's truly what they want. It feels so unfamiliar that they'll reject that deep and healthy, loving partner. And they'll go back to an unhealthy partner because they see this unhealthy partner and they go, okay, the healthy love, even though it feels good and I love it, I can't trust it. I don't recognize it. I don't know how to interact with it. So they reject it, and then they'll go into another relationship with a toxic partner, and they'll go, yes, this is what I'm used to. I know how to love this. I know how to interact in this. And so they keep themselves in this cycle of toxic partner to toxic partner, never really being fulfilled, never really having that depth of love that they desire, not ever really having that connection, because they're not willing to look in the mirror and go, I need to heal and choose better for myself in order for me to have a partner that can represent this deep, meaningful, healthy love that I desire. You know what? And I have a lot of empathy and compassion for that, and it's sad because I do run into a lot of people who carry a lot of these deep wounds, and I've always jokingly said I have this beautiful gift of I'm able to see a person for who they are, and a lot of times I see a person for the beautiful, amazing soul that they are, but the unfortunate part is they can't see the same person that I see. And all that it requires is for them to do the work to heal the trauma, and that is who they are, but that person is covered up by all of the things that have happened to them in life that they're afraid to address. And so it leaves them in this constant cycle of toxicity that they can't escape, even though they know it's unhealthy, even though they know it's not fulfilling, even though they know it's not something that they desire, but it is very familiar. So, I guess I'm putting this video out there to all those folks out there who find themselves in this predicament, to be able to say, hey, what you want exists, it's out there. However, it's important for you to be able to look in the mirror and do the work. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not defective. You are deserving of love. You're beautiful beings. It just requires you to uncover the dusty mirror to see the beauty that exists in that mirror, to take off the years of pain and hurt and abuse, to heal from that, to be able to let it go and embrace who you truly are in order for you to find those relationships, whether they're intimate relationships or whether they're friendships, whether they're partnerships or whether they're even connecting more deeply with members of your family. It's incumbent on you to make the change. As one person once told me, you're not responsible for the trauma that happened to you, but you are responsible for healing the trauma that happened to you. So I hope this helps you on your journey, but what say you? Are these things that you struggled with on your journey? Are these things that you found answers to? Or are these things that cause you to continue to search? Until I talk to you again, peace, love, light. Have the most amazing day.